Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Temple City Council for May 18th. It's currently 5 p.m. Please rise as Deputy City Secretary Liz Caraway leads us in the invocation, followed by our pledge, which will be led by City Secretary Jana Llewellyn.
Dear Heavenly Father, tonight as we see new faces sitting on the council before us, I'm reminded of your words taken from Ecclesiastes 3, which say, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. So I saw that there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot." Thank you for our council members, both new and returning. Thank you for those in leadership positions and for all the men and women who work and serve our city. Please provide them each day with reminders of why they decided to dedicate their lives to public service and encourage them in this. And this evening, be with our city council as they weigh the decisions of each item presented. Give them the wisdom and how to best represent everyone. Give them courage so that even when faced with difficult decisions, they would continue to best represent the needs of the city of Temple. Thank you again, Lord, for this day and the opportunity to serve. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much. Now's the time for public comments. Any citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so. We just ask that you step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And also please understand that no discussion or final action will be taken by the city council. We have a few folks that have signed up. We'll start with Jenny Morales.
Hi there. My name is Jenny Morales, and I am one of the food truck vendors here at the Yard Food Truck Plaza here in Temple. There have been a number of thefts. We've been here since August of 21, and there's been multiple at this point. Lack of lighting behind some of the trailers and insufficient security is probably one of the biggest issues down there for keeping things safe for kids, families. That's all I gotta say. I just want to kind of bring some attention to it because we need somebody listening.
You and I emailed back and forth, what, a week ago, 10 days or so ago?
You told me, you sent me an email saying that you were going to send it to the city advisor, and I haven't heard anything back from you.
Okay, that's fine. So the problem is maybe some theft or damage to the trailers. Is that correct?
Yes, well, in one instance, we've had cords taken, which can amount to hundreds of dollars of losses for us, which is for a small business is really, really crucial. We've had one person have one of their hitch locks broken, which means that somebody wasn't trying to break into the trailer, but maybe take off with the trailer. And generator stolen. I mean, just a lot of variables.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
You bet. Thank you, ma'am. Next is Nathan. I can't read the last name. You're all right? Okay, yep, yes, sir. Next is Lama Mariquin.
Hi, my name is Lama Mariquin, and I am yet one more food truck owner down at the Yard. My issue has escalated beyond theft, break-in, loss of inventory, because the last incident, well, the second to the last incident was actually someone broke into my truck and made away with cheese, meat, bread. You come to your own conclusion as to who might be interested more in that than the equipment that was in the truck. I'll leave that up to you. But on the other hand, the very latest incident was the fact that, or resulted in me no longer feeling safe in downtown Temple, no longer feeling like I can conduct my business without interruption by individuals who want to have a conversation with me while they're extremely inebriated, leaving items in my private vehicle. To what extent are other people's rights to exist on city property and linger and loiter and live and sleep is allowed to infringe on my business that also happens to exist on city property? I have lost employees because they have been approached with conversations, God knows about what, and they come in all confused. Next thing I know, nobody wants to come back to work. The last incident involved my brother and my son. My daughter is no longer allowed to come work with me. I refuse to have her put in that situation. We have individuals out there who are pruning bushes, and they are doing an excellent job from what I can tell from a distance, half naked in a city park, right down from where kids are supposed to be playing on a playground. Now, if this is a mental issue person, do you trust them with power tools to be around children, not to kind of cross the line? If you had a child in your household that you know has a mental illness that could possibly cause them to injure your other children, would you keep them under the same roof, unsupervised? And if so, then I don't know what this city is doing right now. But if not, then why is it allowed that the rest of us have to be subjected to this? I understand there are programs in the making. There are programs about to be launched. There are numbers that are put in the system, yet nothing has been done. Are we waiting for someone to be assaulted? Are we waiting for someone to be killed? Are we waiting for more than petty theft? What exactly are we waiting for? And I would like to, not right now, I understand you don't have any time for resolution or answers right this minute, but it is absolutely abhorring to have that happening 1 block away from the police department. And I hope no one comes back to me and tells me that the police will handle it. This police department has way more better things that they need to do. I am hearing about the drive-by shootings and so many higher things. This is petty theft. And it's only going to escalate because in my experience, it has already escalated. I've had my generator stolen off the back of my truck, which apparently 4 or 5 brackets, a chain, and a military lock was not enough. I'll take the blame on that. I've had my truck broken into 2 weeks ago, food stolen, and charging cables for cell phones. An inconvenience, but that does not, if anybody has had a home invasion, you know exactly what it feels like to feel violated. This is my place of business. This is my haven. I couldn't even trust that anything in that truck was not contaminated. Everything went out the trash. Insurance is not going to pay me for that. They're only going to pay me for what was lost. But as a food service provider, I have the obligation to serve healthy food that has not been contaminated. And then the latest is now my bubble is getting invaded. I have people coming and knocking on my door so they can talk to me in a slurred, drunken state. And I can't ask them to go away because they're not banned from this park. They're leaving items in the back of my truck. I've gone home with a sleeping bag. I have no idea how it ended up in the back of my vehicle. Thank you for your time. I'm sure I went over 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Merrickman.
Thank you.
Next is Alan Lytle.
Good evening. My name is Alan Lytle. I live at Paseo del Plata here in Temple. Let me first congratulate Zoe and Mike and Susan for making it to the city council, and also issue my condolences because I know how much hard work you guys are in for. You've been here already today since 1:30. I'd like to confuse you tonight because I want to talk about 2 things, the budget and taxes. As a tax-paying citizen, I would really like to see us be able, since we already have a 22% increase in our taxable area, apparently, we don't know yet, obviously. But as we consider our budgets, I'd like to see us consider either least, at the very least, keeping the tax rate the same on the citizens, or maybe even reducing it a little bit to help with the current situation in the economy. But to confuse you, the confusing part is I would also like to see us put into the budget additional firefighters, additional police officers, additional solid waste and water personnel, because the city is growing at such an exceeding rate that we're outrunning our departments. People are frazzled, they're working double overtime, I'm sure, and we really need to give them some kind of relief. So when we're doing our budget this year, and I know it's a little early yet, but I want to get in here because I'll probably be back again next time to talk about the same thing. Smile at me. But definitely need, when we're doing our budgeting process, to be sure that we include, I know the chief in the fire department and the chief of police both have budgeting for throughout 26, 27, 28. But instead of going that long, let's see if we can move some of that up with the excess that we have and get some more officers and some more firefighters and some more city staff. Thank you.
Alan, you have a future in politics. That was both sides of the fence. Always appreciate it, though. Wise man. One more, Ms. Frazier.
Galatians 5:19, now the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are sexual immorality, impunity, indecent behavior, idolatry, witchcraft, hostility, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these, of which I forewarn you, just as I have forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Well, this has to do with ordinances. We need an ordinance intended to minimize and control the adverse secondary effects associated with sexually orientated businesses and thereby protect the public health, safety, and welfare of our city. I come at you with this because Temple Pride is announcing a block party downtown. Where are the ordinances required to have drag shows that feature scantily clad men dressed as women gyrating around in a restaurant and on the street? They got a kid zone, a story time. We need an ordinance put in place, rules and regulations to keep from harming the businesses with negative effects on the community. Fees for these shows should be assessed of at least $2,500, etc. They hopefully will cover any damages caused by these shows. And as you can see, they cause excess crime. They cause things that are negative downtown. You got families that are downtown touring and looking around, especially on weekends. So I would expect that you need to put something in place, some kind of ordinances to control this behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. All right, item 3 is that's a separate item. No, you will have what's called a public appearance, which is you'll be able to step forward and speak, and you won't be limited to 3 minutes, and we can have a discussion with you. And it's a separate process. Okay, yes, you bet. So moving on to item 3 is a couple of special recognitions. The first one, if Chief Reynolds will come forward, we'll present a proclamation to Chief Reynolds and the Temple Police Department. What? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I missed that. I'm sorry, man. You are up. I thought I did such a good job of explaining to you why you need to wait for just a minute.
What you said was correct, though. Just wrong.
Is it the great? Is that right?
I think you still probably want to read the item in.
So item 3 is discussion regarding the condemnation related to the proposed annex location.
Okay, so my name is Renetta DeGreat. I own a property at 310 South 10th Street. I'm one of those who are subject to condemnation for the purpose of the city building a new annex building on that block. In my research, of course, I object because that's my property. But in my research, it comes to mind that the current location is actually bigger than that block. So you're going to take my property to move it to a spot that's smaller than what you already have. Not sure why. The second thing I have an issue with is the location. If you're only moving 2 blocks away, why not stay where you are, knock that building over and start over from there, right there, save some money. If that's not an option, then I actually did the research to find another location that is actually less expensive than buying that block that is already in a commercial area, which this is not. You'll be taken from residential lots that should be used for lower income, or maybe not lower, but at least affordable income. Affordable housing is what we're going to take away from to add the annex building, which I don't live in Temple, so I don't know how bad you need this annex building. I did go to the annex building. It's only 30 years old, but you spend your money however you please. I understand I'm a businesswoman. I spend my money the way I please. And the way I please was to actually follow through what the city actually already put in place with the development. I've already pulled a permit to build on my lot. I was granted that permit because it actually already is in line with what the city wants to see in that neighborhood. But then my permit was stopped because you want to take it. I don't feel it's fair. I don't feel it's right. I don't feel that the city is actually spending money wisely. When, like I said, I found a property that's 3 acres, already zoned commercial, that's only $157,000, a lot less expensive than buying that whole block. So with that being said, I would like for you guys to reconsider putting it somewhere else that's actually more appropriate, not in a residential neighborhood, and not taken from what the city actually needs, which is more affordable housing. And with that being said, I'm gonna leave one last thought at 1 Corinthians 6:12. It says everything that's lawful is not advantageous. You can take my property, but it's not actually, in my opinion, for the best of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
What's that, what street? Right across from the fairground, South End.
So the purpose of this piece of property is buying 1 square block to relocate the county annex building to. The county annex building is dated. The county annex building is not as useful as it could be. And really the main purpose, not the main purpose, one of the purposes is to move the annex building closer to the east side to be able to more effectively serve the citizens there on the east side. The city's going through a large redevelopment process in that area anyway, the renaming of Avenue C. The city has some property down further south from this block that the plan is to work toward revitalization of that area. And many times many times the spending of public funds will generate the spending of private funds toward the revitalization of that area. So it's a 2 or 3 pronged process that we believe can be accomplished to lift up the east side maybe more quickly than if we simply waited on private development. And this also gives the county an opportunity to upgrade their facilities and move the place where they dispense services closer to those folks that use those services.
I actually agree with everything you said. The location that I'm telling you, 3401 East Adams, it's simple. It's in an area that's underserved. And I do believe that if you guys put money over there, then more people will develop over there. Our being a developer will actually spend money in East Temple, that's where I'm from. I would love to be a part of that, and I would love to start with what I already own. And go down the street to East Adams, more developers with deeper pockets are gonna follow you, just like you said. So why take away from those of us who've already been in the process of going along with what you said? And actually, I don't know if you guys read the appraisal that y'all sent me, but the appraiser actually said that my property is best suited for single family residents, has been and continues to be. That's its highest and best use. But you're taking it away for annex building that you said you wanted to put it closer to the people who need it. Well, deep in East Temple on East Adams is a much better location, and it's not taken away from anybody. And that man is ready to sell right now today. No fight.
Okay.
And
Understood,
3 acres as opposed to 1 block, 1 acre. Y'all
understood.
could expand a hell of a lot more for 3 acres as opposed to 1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to special recognitions. Item 3 is to recognize May 14th through 20th, May 14th through the May 20th, 2023 is National Police Week. So Chief, if you'll please come up. All right, if I may. Proclamation is from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Temple, and it reads, whereas there are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Temple Police Department. Whereas since the first recorded police death in 1786, there have been more than 23,000 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, and there are currently 23,785 names engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. And whereas a total of 2,579 law enforcement officers died in the line of duty during the past 10 years, with 224 federal, state, tribal, and local law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty in 2022. Whereas in 2023, the names of 556 officers in the line of duty were added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. These 556 officers included 224 officers that were killed during 2022. In addition, an additional 332 officers died in previous years, and many of their stories of sacrifice have been lost to history until now. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty was honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 35th Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2023. Now therefore I, Timothy A. Davis, Mayor of the City of Temple, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through 15th, 2023 as National Police Week throughout the City of Temple, and I urge all citizens to salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. In testimony whereof, I witness my hand in the seal of the City of Temple, Texas, this 18th day of May, 2023. So Chief, on behalf of the city and the City Council, I want to thank you for all that your department does. And we're very appreciative of your efforts. And I think most everyone here probably knows that there was a officer death in Cameron just this past week. And Chief, before you run off I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. Is there anything you'd like to? Okay, very good.
Mr. Mayor, council members, it's an honor to continue to be able to serve with the City of Temple. I get to carry the flag or the banner. It's the men and women that are out there driving those cars every day. We did lose Officer Close with the Cameron Police Department. We honored him yesterday with a funeral service. He was buried actually today. So it's a horrible honor that we have to go through this annually. But please, if you do see the men and women out there, it's challenging work. Policing a free constitutional republic is very challenging work. So if you get the opportunity and you have it in your heart, just tell them thank you. It means so much, more than you'll ever know. And Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for this proclamation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for all that you and your department do for us. The next item is to recognize May 21st through May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. Mr. Bond. You're the only person that works in public works. You're it. Very good. Well, as always, thank you guys for the work that y'all do for the city of Temple. And if I may, let me read this proclamation. From the Office of the Mayor of the City of Temple, the proclamation reads, whereas public work professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Temple. Whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other essential services for our city. Whereas this year's theme, Connecting the World Through Public Works, honors the vital contribution public work professionals make every day to our community and to communities across North America, and it invites the public to celebrate their quiet dedication and indispensable influence on our way of life. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens in the city of Temple to gain knowledge of and maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their communities. Now, therefore, I, Timothy A. Davis, Mayor of the City of Temple, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Public Works Week in the City of Temple, and urge all citizens to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions that they make to protect our health, safety, welfare, and quality of life. In testimony whereof, I witness my hand in the seal of the City of Temple, Texas, on this 18th day of May, 2023. Thank you, gentlemen, for all that you guys do for the City of Temple. What are we're playing blackjack up here?
I'm not dumb enough to try to follow the chief with some thoughtful words, but I'm a little embarrassed because I only brought one. I left the other one at my office. The other one was already up here at City Hall. I'm just giving them a deck of those public works personalities cards, and all the previous council members had one. So I was just going to give two to Zoe and Mike. And Mike, you probably know a lot of the faces on there already, so might suggest you leave that one with Zoe, and then I'll get you the one from the office next week. Thank y'all.
Very good. Thank you. Public Works folks are some of the unsung heroes around town. You might be upset with a building that needs, some graffiti or, whatever removed, but you're really going to be chapped if your water doesn't come out of the spigot in the morning, right? And it's those guys that get that done. Do what? Literally. That's right. So thank you for all that y'all do. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. All items that are listed under this section are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member and will be considered separately. So council, we discussed this during workshop today, and unless something has changed, we're not removing anything today from the consent. Is that correct? Okay. Then council, at this time, I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda, which is in your agenda as items 6A through 6P.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Walker. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. It's always me. Got it. It said idle too long. I vote yes. Very good. Item 5 passes 5 votes to 0. And congratulations to the new council members. It's nice to say 5 votes to 0 instead of 4 votes to 0, which we've been saying for a long time. So thank y'all for being here, and thank you for the time it took to run for and win an election. That's hard work. All right. Item number 7 is the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a planned development amendment and a conditional use permit from NS-PD to NS-PD with the CUP to allow sales of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at 3697 West FM 93. Mr. Chandler.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. And as was read in to the item description, this is a 2-part rezoning. That's an amendment to an existing plan development district ordinance and a conditional use permit for off-premise alcohol consumption, beer and wine. The applicant, Billy Zemanek, is here, or yes. So the development team is here. And this is an item that was scheduled for city council on January 19th, but was tabled by request of the applicant. And so that is back. We've sent courtesy notices to the neighbors so that they can stay informed. And so as mentioned, I won't go over that again, but in terms of the CUP, however, the fuel sales also require conditional use permit and the neighborhood service zoning. So 2-part, the off-premise alcohol consumption aspect of a proposed gas station, but also the fuel sales. This is not located within 300 or 1,000 feet of protected uses for alcohol sales that include church, public or private schools, public hospital. This is per Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances. And just for context, the nearest protected use is about 2,600 feet away, and that is Central Texas Christian School. And of course, this is for a proposed convenience store with fuel sales and alcohol sales. And so what you have on the screen here, these are just your basic uses that are allowed within neighborhood service. Barbershops, salons, a convenience store without fuel pumps or without alcohol sales. Just a gym as another example of a neighborhood service. And so now just to draw your attention to where this property is located, you can see that what is outlined along FM 93 and adjacent to the Valley Ranch subdivision. And so DuBose Road, FM 93, that is the entire property that is subject to the 2004 plan development ordinance. We're amending it just for a specific lot, which we'll show you in a second, or at least the proposed amendment. Current zoning, you can see in the light kind of pinkish color, neighborhood service plan development, and the future development plan as part of the 2020 comprehensive plan identifies that area as residential and neighborhood service. And so here you can see, looking from DuBose across 93, undeveloped property, same to the west, to the south, of course, Valley Ranch subdivision, single family residential. To the east, another residential subdivision called Valor Estates. So this is provided by the applicant as renderings of what the gas station would look like if approved. And then the site plan. And so you can see this is lot 2. You can see the gas pump canopy on the FM 93 side, the actual gas station building, the retail portion. And then what is crosshatched will be landscaping. And so that includes a landscape buffer area as well. Also includes full access to 93 just to the east. You can see the arrows up there. But also an access point on Dubose Road, which would also provide access for whatever would be developed in the future for Lot 1. And so looking at utilities in the thoroughfare plan, there's an 8-inch water line on the north side of FM 93, 8-inch, and Felix McDaniel Drive, wastewater, 8-inch stub out. And as far as the thoroughfare plan goes, FM 93 is a major arterial. So a lot to report in the public notice. So 34 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. And that was with notices for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in December, and then the scheduled city council meeting in January. At the bottom of that list, you'll see that we also sent courtesy notices to those property owners once it was confirmed that this would be back on the city council agenda. 11 notices were returned in disagreement. You can see that's within the 200-foot buffer area. There were also an additional 9 responses outside of the 200-foot buffer area. So certainly those responses mean something as well. We want to make sure, those are always included in your packet. They have just as much of a right to speak and give an opinion on the impact on their properties. It's just the 200-foot is what can trigger a protest. If more than 20% of that buffer area is represented by property owners in disagreement, then it triggers a 4/5 city council vote. And this certainly, the 11 exceed the 20%, triggering a supermajority vote at council. So 4 out of the 5 who are here would have to vote in favor. Also, planning and zoning recommended disapproval. We'll talk about that in a moment, but that would also in itself trigger a supermajority vote. So you have both of those aspects that trigger a 4/5 vote. The newspaper printed notice of the public hearing on December 8th. And then once again, the courtesy notices to neighbors, and many of you here, I presume, received those. And so just a reminder, it's been a little while since you've seen a conditional use permit in front of you. And but a conditional use permit, if approved, could in the future be denied or revoked, and that is within the Unified Development Code. If it's been determined that it ends up being incompatible with surrounding uses, or detrimental or offensive to the neighborhood, or contrary to the general health, safety, and welfare of the area. And then also per UDC section 355, that the Planning and Zoning Commission may recommend and the city council may impose additional conditions of approval. We have several conditions we're recommending, and you all could certainly add to that. In terms of the various criteria for compliance with a conditional use permit, you can see in terms of the compatibility, health, safety, and welfare, safe movement of traffic. FM 93, of course, is a TxDOT roadway. And so that access, I believe, has been approved by TxDOT. I can get the developers to confirm that, but one way or another, it is subject to TxDOT review. Directional lighting, sufficient landscaping and screening, some other criteria. So staff does recommend approval of the plan development amendment and the conditional use permit with the following conditions: compliance with Chapter 4 of the City Code of Ordinances related to alcohol sales, that the permit for beer and wine sales is only for off-premise consumption, and limiting operation hours for the business from between 5 a.m. and 12 a.m., so not an all-night gas station. And at its December 19th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend disapproval of the conditional use permit and the plan development amendment. Once again, that would trigger a supermajority vote today. In addition to the fact that more than 20% of the neighbors within that 200-foot buffer have also weighed in and for disapproval. So I'm available to answer any questions. And once again, the applicant development team is as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Counselor, any questions that you need to ask Mr. Chandler tonight?
Brian, can you give just a brief overview of what kind of conversation happened with the Planning and Zoning Commission? What, I believe you said 5-1.
Yes.
What were the 5 people feeling?
I mean, there were discussions about traffic. And so something to keep in mind is that, you know, gas stations, in terms of the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers, you know, trip generation for uses, gas stations are considered a high trip generator. However, keep in mind too that, you know, that's just looking overall at the number of customers that come in and out
Right.
of a gas station. And so trip generation is a little bit of a misnomer. Gas stations don't typically generate a lot of traffic unless it's a Buc-ee's. But traffic and also I think just listening to concerns from the neighbors.
And the hours, is that set? I mean, who set those hours?
That was just a discussion with the applicant, just to clarify, recognizing that, you know, having a 24/7 convenience store and gas station would certainly, you know, there would be additional opposition. So that was just a discussion item to say, look, if you don't need 24 hours, then what could you limit it to? And so that's where that was in negotiation with the applicants.
You had a slide. Close to the end that listed, okay, compatible with neighboring property. Yes. How is this compatible with neighboring property?
So from a staff perspective, the landscape buffer, for one, that is a wide landscape buffer. Also, you know, certainly I've had gas stations near my neighborhood and not an issue for me. But either way, so that's just staff's interpretation that, you know, that location is appropriate for a gas station, and gas stations are able to exist and, you know, in semi-harmony with neighborhoods, and it's been that way for a number of decades.
Okay, thanks. Before about lighting, just the light pollution that something like this could cause. Is there a way to keep that from happening?
Sure, and I think, you know, in terms of the directional lighting, you know, that what we have in our code prevents glare. And so, you know, if you read that section of our code, and it's basically preventing light trespass. And so if they're fixtures, particularly the ones on the back side of the building, for one, or if they are full cutoff fixtures where you can't see the bulb, an exposed bulb, of course, leads to glare. So either shielded or full cutoff fixtures, you know, that's really the industry standard to ensure that the light just illuminates the property and does not spill over into, you know, beyond a neighbor's fence, for instance. That also combined with a landscape buffer with trees and shrubs, should limit that trespass or prevent it, actually.
Anything else? Okay. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. We just ask you step to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Sir, after you, sir. Come on, sir, after you, due respect. After you, sir.
In that case, I'll always get to speak first. Alan Lytle, 504 Paseo del Plata. I travel FM 93, the area where this is going to be. And I had the concerns of the traffic. Obviously, people coming from Belton to Temple will be on the correct side of the road and be able to turn right and continue to go right. People traveling towards Belton, including the tanker trucks that are going to fill the gas pumps, will be traveling towards Belton. They'll have to turn left here, and at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock in the morning, and right when school lets out at 3:30, 4 o'clock. You can't do that on FM 93. You just simply physically cannot. You'll have to wait 30, 45 minutes to actually be able to turn left. So I don't think that we really need to have that situation on FM 93. And my wife's going to come up and say something else as well. So I encourage at least two of you to say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon.
Sandra Creech, 504 Paseo del Plata. And as my husband stated, traffic on 93 is only getting worse. And where people who live in Valley View have a hard enough time getting in and out of their own subdivision on a good day, you put a service station there and you are never going to be able to get out of your home. May as well put up a fence and stay put. Second thing, I don't know what the situation with homeless is in that area, but if you look just east of Taylor Valley Baptist Church, there is a creek wooded area. You're about to add more wonderful wooded area between this service station and this subdivision. If it's the homeless involved in that creek, I am here to tell you, they'll go to the service station, buy their beer, and proceed to take it off premises to right behind the store, right in front of these people's homes, where they will proceed to use that area as a restroom, as well as a living condition. How do I know this? I'm close to a creek and the trail on 5th Street, and the homeless have taken up residence. And I'm telling you that trail is not healthy. At best, it's not healthy. When you see people in condoms and bathroom and toilet paper along that trail, it's enough to make you ill. And that's what you're about to possibly inflict on them. So the traffic is an issue, possible homeless issue. And the third thing is, are the pumps going to be open 24/7, even though the convenience store is not? Thank you.
Apologies for my tardiness for this evening. I had to get off work to come in, so I came guns a-blazing. Sorry. 7006 Sundown Court, Temple, Texas. I live in one of the housing areas, but bottom line up front, so I'm not as exactly convinced as your city planner, your planning crew. So
Your name,
a lot of
Sir, state your name,
Oh,
please.
Brett Van Fossen. So your city planner didn't address a couple of things that we brought up in the last meeting for planning and zoning. One of the specific concerns is we asked the question, has TxDOT approved this? TxDOT approved it, we've been notified through the county, and we would have been notified because there would have been a placard changing the notification for approval of this outside the housing area or in close proximity to the lot. So I'm not convinced that that has been done yet, nor approved. Second issue, the same problem that we're currently having with zoning and planning is we have a drainage issue. Right now, the drainage currently goes through, for that lot specifically, goes directly through the housing area. if you're not familiar with the area, I encourage you to get on the ground and look and see which way that it goes through. It goes directly through the housing area. And the overflow for the housing area, for that residential area, goes over to a city park that everyone's children's play in right now. That's the overflow spot where any rainwater or runoff from that location would go to. And all of our children play baseball there, soccer, football, play in the jungle gym, all that kind of good fun stuff. That's the holding area. We understood that at the time, but at the time when we bought the homes, the area was not zoned for that. So this is of concern to us. The additional concern that I have, and I understand that you're only required to notify 300 feet, but CTCTS is right down the street, not even a block. If you look just past the zoning area, you're going to be selling alcohol right outside a high school. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with high school, but you know, some guys look older than others, but that's just my recommendation. I don't think it's a great idea. Also, less than a quarter mile from that location, there's also already a gas station. We bought the home with the understanding that this facility would be only for residential support with no alcohol sales and no fuel sales at the time. That was our understanding, and that's what we specifically asked for. That's why we selected this location. So my recommendation is non-concur, and we still have zoning issues with flooding in our neighborhoods because zoning approved the construction of the directions of the waters and how the lots are built. They didn't require them to do grading correctly. So I still have concerns. There's no ponding, retention pond for a hazardous material spill that has been placed on anywhere on that map yet that we specifically asked about how that's going to be addressed. And I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't really matter the direction of the light. Yes, it's still light, we'll say trash for lack of a better term. It's not a good idea for a local, I'll call it a convenience store that's going to sell alcohol right outside somebody's homes and right outside of a high school. So I don't know what the rules are for zoning outside of a high school, but I'd recommend we maybe reconsider this. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, isn't the standard distance from a school 1,000 feet? And I think Mr. Chandler, I think you said it was 2,600 feet, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Stacy Hodeck, 6903 Sun Valley Drive, Temple. Initially, I'd like to make the council aware that the CUP request for the fuel sales has not been given proper notice, in my opinion. The only mention of the CUP for fuel sales is in the staff report. It's not in the preamble of the posted notice for this meeting or in anything that we've received any type of notice as adjoining property owners. If the council decides to consider the CUP request, I would ask that proper notice be given to the adjoining property owner so we can come back and address that. So as I continue, I'll just be speaking toward the posted issue of the replat and the CUP for the off-premise consumption. Do you remember the 80s arcade game Frogger? The object of the game is to get your frogs to their homes by crossing a busy road. You had to maneuver your frog back and forth between opposing lanes of traffic to avoid becoming roadkill. As you level up in the game, the traffic on the road became more congested and going faster, but your frog still needed to make it home, or it became roadkill. Keep that reference in your mind while you consider this matter. In 2004, the council provided by ordinance development for the 9 lots on FM 93, specifically in part providing no sale of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption. It wasn't that the council didn't consider it, they rightfully did. They specifically excluded it. It didn't fit the character of our neighborhood. I purchased my home knowing the plan the city set out in the ordinance, which also created my lot in the neighborhood. It would be improper for the city to now decide to change the plan against the wishes of those that bought into the city's 2004 plan. As you know, the neighborhood service designation provides in part limited retail services, usually for a small neighborhood area. It's the most restrictive. It's intended to provide day-to-day needs for residential neighborhood service areas. The applicant isn't solving a neighborhood service need. The applicant is attempting to capitalize on commuting traffic. To address the convenience of commuting traffic and for our neighborhood, we have a fuel station with alcohol sales right down the road at an intersection. Commuters can safely enter and exit onto FM 93 from 2 major thoroughfares with signal control. The staff report properly addresses the fact that there are increased accidents at the existing convenience store location and accurately states with the traffic volumes and turning movements onto DeBose Road, the proposed convenience store may present increased hazards. I would point out that the posted speed limit on FM 93 is 60 miles per hour, and vehicles are in a race and traveling well beyond that to beat the car next to them before the road reduces to one lane traveling east, or racing to be the first to I-35 if traveling west. Vehicles entering and exiting the roadway with no acceleration or deceleration lane is a hazard, period. Again, think of the game Frogger. This would be no different than you slowing to turn off of I-35 without an exit, or taking a left to get on I-35 with no ramp. The speed limit on I-35 is only 5 miles per hour faster, yet this would never be acceptable. DeBose Road is our school bus stop. Our HOA emailed us early in the school year that the Temple Police Department requested parents wait for the buses at other locations instead of DeBose Road because the traffic was backing up onto 93. I hadn't seen in the plan a proposal for relieving this issue that the police department voiced, only to add additional concerns to the area. I would also note that our bus stop location has no sidewalks and children routinely wait in the roadway. The plan provided doesn't alleviate that issue either, as the only sidewalks would be along FM 93 and not DeBose Road. During the planning and zoning process, the applicant told the commission about the increased traffic on FM 93 and how it will only continue to increase in the upcoming years, and that there are no other fuel stations on our side of FM 93, and thus the need for this convenience store. There has been no effort to address any of the traffic issues. In the current development agreement, upkeep to the entrances and right-of-way is at our HOA expense. So these people out here have to pay for it. There's been no proposal to change that responsibility of the upkeep due to the higher in and out traffic of this type of establishment, and also trash and other upkeep that it would create. Our neighborhood invested into the council's plan in 2004. The applicant hasn't. The applicant has other options. This isn't the only undeveloped property on this side of FM 93 in the city limits, and the applicant should work to find other suitable property for off-site consumption sales on this side of FM 93 if it desires. Council, how many of you chose your home because there was a convenience store selling alcohol in your backyard? The City Council in 2004 adequately and properly provided for these 9 lots, again, specifically excluding off-site alcohol consumption sales, along with the development of our neighborhood. To change course now would negatively impact our neighborhood with no recourse for the owners and deprive our neighborhood of the opportunity to have the property develop with services that do benefit our small neighborhood area. Our neighborhood is overwhelmingly in favor of development of the property, but in the manner previously established by this council. Thank you for allowing my neighbors and I to address the changes being requested to our neighborhood development plan.
Folks, I know this is an emotional issue, but a little standard meeting decorum would be appreciated very much. Yes, sir.
So my name is Chase Clements, and I'm sorry I don't have a suit and tie. That's standard. No, I'm just joking. I live in Sun Valley Ranch. Little bit unprepared, but actually the gentleman with the slideshow here with the cup, could we go back to that? Because that was great touching points, and I think that's kind of where everyone was going on both sides.
Which slide?
It was cup. Sorry. You had all the points, so yes, and everything was checked, yes. There we go,
Yeah.
there we go.
There you go.
So I think this is a really good talking point. You go back, is it compatible? Just number one, it goes back to 2004. 2004, when this was developed, people bought into it, or not for, but yeah. So they did it for a reason. It wasn't compatible then, it's not compatible now. The impede normal development, that's probably fine. Where are you going to go with that? The drainage has not been addressed. You see, if you go there during a storm, all that stuff will be coming right through our neighborhood. And I encourage you guys as leaders of the community to go do that before you sign off on it. to watch a storm, watch the way it flows to the neighborhoods, the kids, the grass will be covered in oil, grease, grime, garbage. We've all left a Sefco and looked at the ground. That's going to be in our neighborhood now. Storm comes, winds come in our neighborhood. And if y'all have been there, across the street, the corn husks, right? The winds come, the corn husks end up in my pool. Now, guess what? Now I'm going to have beer cans, trash, litter, garbage. And I'm not saying it's the applicant, it's a situation that we're putting there. The applicant will probably do everything he can to try to avoid it, but you're bringing in that. It's just natural. It will happen. Then we move on to the traffic. Traffic hasn't been addressed. The last lady described it, Frogger. That is absolutely amazing. Perfect description. It's dangerous every day I go in and out. I kind of dread when my son turns 16 because he's got to turn on that road every day. If I leave after 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work, you're looking out for people. It's a wow. People are coming, they're flying. Sometimes no lights because it's just, So then with the no headlights, you put a gas station down the road that's going to impede the vision and the light. They're looking at light looking into the neighborhoods. What about when you go to turn? Cars. People aren't looking at the bigger picture here. And granted that can happen if we put a coffee stand there too. But gas stations are usually a lot more lighting. That actually comes back to something that's not on here. We showed the map, everything. There's no elevations. I haven't seen any elevations anywhere. So there's no elevations of this building. There's no elevations of the light poles. We have 8-foot fences going to the back of the properties. Is the city going to build the big or 6-foot? So are we going with the bigger wall? Are we going to block the light pollution? Because that's a major thing. I can sit here and probably look around and guarantee you everyone on the council isn't looking at light poles in their backyard and would be upset if they had a nice area they paid money for, they provide for their family, and light is blasting down the next week. Then we move on to the odors and fumes, dust and vibration. Are we putting in a rubber driveway? Big trucks, landscaping trucks, semi trucks, in and out till 12 o'clock at night. The vibration of a semi, we've all been there. You can't hide it. The diesel fuel, the spills, and then you go to the prevent odors. I'd like to see a plan for that for any dumpster, right? Whether it's a gas station or any dumpster, you cannot prevent the odors. It just doesn't happen. So, and there's no plan in place besides, oh, we're going to put the lid down. Well, that was cool till the first homeless guy came and flipped it up, or raccoon. There's nothing in place to prevent this so now you have pollution in the air. We actually get there again. If you go there on certain days, you'll smell the septic plant down the road. I believe that's Belton's though, right? Their plant. That's how far away you can smell because of the winds. So a trash can that's going to be at your local gas station, Sefco, however you want to do it, is going to cause odor in the summertime. Wintertime, rain, great. You're not going to smell it. Multiple things there. The lighting, that's a horse that you can't beat anymore, I don't think. There again, no elevations on anything. We're talking about putting certain covers on it, but there again, sir, elevations. No elevations given out to the public at all. How are we going to know that the building's 30 feet high, 10 feet high, 8 feet high? Nothing to the public. And landscaping, I think you're good on that. So those are just things I wanted to touch on his. Sorry, I was unprepared. So.
All right, thank you very much.
Our development maps have topographic lines. That is not something that is standard for a zoning case in this community. Go to other cities where I've worked, San Antonio, Austin, takes longer. Also more investment on the engineering and design side, which may typically show a building, showing an actual elevation. Here's neighbors, distance from neighbors, fence. This is the scale of the building, and actual have topos, but that is, that's typically much larger cities that provide that. So, yeah, I mean, so building elevations, of course, are here, and that's a single story. So that to parapet, that's, probably 20 feet. But once again, the applicant is here at the appropriate time. It'd probably be a good idea to have them answer some of these questions. Mhm.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Kelly Ham. I live at 6907 Sun Valley Drive. And I emailed the last time, and I emailed again today, except for Zoe. I couldn't get your email address. And I addressed pretty much the same things that Stacy addressed. But I would like to know, have any of you actually driven down 93 and looked at the distance between 93 and the fence in the neighborhood? There's not a big distance there. So it literally is going to be in our backyard. So you have a nice housing addition that we paid a lot of money for. And now we're going to add a convenience store literally right there. And we will have the concerns of what everybody has said, even though they said they have addressed it. It cannot be addressed. It's just, it can't. For convenience stores to go in on 93, there needs to be more room. We actually have a dentist office going in right now. We're all excited about that. That's not a 5 a.m. until 12 midnight deal. It's an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or even earlier. But we are so against this right here. We don't want to take away temple taxes, but it is going to happen because our home values are going to decrease because of this. I'm not gonna be able to sell my home because if there's a convenience store right there that bam, you walk out my back door and it is in your face. That's exactly where it is. It's going to be in our faces. So I plead with you not to allow this here where we are. And the traffic is an issue. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ham.
Cindy Warren, and my husband and I reside at 3504 Valley Mist Court. Literally, our fence line is in the backyard of that building. Okay, we purchased our home 5 years ago in good faith, knowing that it was neighborhood services. I'm really, truly not here to repeat everything that they said because we all know that is facts. I grew up in Temple. I raised my children in Temple. This is my home. This is our community. When we purchased our home, and all of our homes are in property value of an average of $550,000. What do you think that convenience store is going to do to our neighborhood? Okay, the lighting, okay, it's operating 20 hours. Okay, do you think they're going to shut the lights off between midnight and 5 a.m.? They're not going to shut the lights off because they're going to want to protect their property. We want to protect our property, and this doesn't do that. We also we have two convenience stores. You can go up to I-35 and 93. There's a convenience store there. There's a convenience store at the 31st and 93 as well. So we have all that covered. Again, I agree. The pictures that they showed of our subdivision, those are when the development was started. Those are not current pictures of what the entrance on Dubose and into our two subdivisions look like. So again, I totally agree. Drive it, look at it. Okay, you should have been there on Monday when it was pouring down rain. We literally had rivers in the ditches going across Dubose Drive. So everything that we're saying is facts. And yes, we're very passionate about this, but these are our homes. This is where we raise our families and our children. And that's truly what a neighborhood is about. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Somebody else?
Hello, everybody. My name is Lori Simmons. I live at 3619 Valley Mist Court. I have worked with several of you during my time in 2019, 2020 as the city spokesperson, and I always found this council to do what is right and fair for the citizens of this city. Now I'm here to ask you to do what is right and fair for me and my neighbors in Valley Ranch. This gas station developer wants to come in and change the plan development guidelines that were put in place, again, as everybody has said, back in 2004, when our neighborhood was built to allow for these fuel sales and off-premise alcohol sales. There are numerous other allowable uses for other types of businesses that they chose not to go after. For example, restaurants, right? We can do townhouses. We can do other types of businesses like the dentist's office that is going in currently, but they chose for some reason to come here and ask for changes to that plan development ordinance that was put in place years ago to be able to make money for those food drivers that they said at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that they were going after. Now, the main reason I'm against this proposed change is safety. Again, as one of the previous speakers talked about, reading directly from your staff report for the meeting, it says there is a crash hotspot located less than a mile east of this development, where a convenience store is located at the corner of South 31st and FM 93. Both are shown as major arterials on thoroughfare plan. There's a gas station, convenience store there. While the subject property, this one that we're talking about today, is not located at a major junction, both traffic volumes and turning movements into Dubose Road and the proposed convenience store may present increased hazards. Staff and the developer should consider whether mitigation, such as turn lanes or additional intersection lighting, are necessary. Signals will be considered if and when conditions meet TxDOT warrants. Our neighborhood does not have a light like the other FM 93 intersections where gas stations are located, such as I-35, 31st Street, and 5th Street. Crashes are still happening at higher rates at intersections with a light and gas stations, where cars are forced to slow down for those light signals. What do you think is going to happen at ours with no traffic lights, no stopping of car speeds, cars going, as we said, 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour? What do you think is going to happen if we don't have a signal at that gas station? People are trying to make lefts from 93 into the gas station driveway. There is a driveway that is proposed onto our access road. So people will be leaving the gas station and combining into cars from our neighborhood, leaving our neighborhood. It is hard enough, as you have heard, for people to get out of our neighborhood at all hours of the day, especially rush hour. In terms of the school bus, many of you have met my children, George and Madeline. George is going to be starting kindergarten next year, and Madeline is going to be starting second grade. Sorry, I get emotional when I talk about my kids. And I think a lot of us here that have kids at that bus stop would be scared to death to have our kids coming on and off that bus every day with gas station traffic coming through our road. And especially people that could be drinking, right? Coming and getting drinks. Compose myself a little bit. We also don't have sidewalks on Dubose Road. So many people walk and bike and use that turnaround point where the gas station driveway will be going for recreational purposes. It would no longer be safe to do that. So again, I'm going to repeat what was said about the UDC. The city council may deny or revoke a conditional use permit in accordance with UDC section 3.5 if it affirmatively determines that the issuance of the permit is incompatible with the surrounding use of the property or detrimental or offensive to the neighborhood or contrary to the health, safety, and general welfare of the city and its inhabitants. We bought our houses knowing that these lots would be used for neighborhood services, but this gas station does not serve our neighborhood. I was at the Planning and Zoning Committee. The applicant again stated that the traffic on 93 is only going to grow and those drivers need more gas stations. That is the reason that he is asking for this CUP. He is there to serve those through drivers and make money off of them. not to serve our neighborhood. We ask that you do what is right and fair for our neighborhood, and that you do not approve changing the plan development rules, and that you say no to these CUPs. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
My name is Ty Kenning. I'm with Speedy Stop Food Stores. I'm sorry if I interrupted the lady that was going to comment. I was going to wait till the end of the comments, and I thought they were done, but if it's appropriate, I can address questions. We've got some slides that I'd like to present to kind of clear up some of the stuff that the assumptions that are being made. Just a little history. Our company's been in business since 1981. We're out of Victoria, Texas. We have 24 stores that we own and operate, and then another 150 stores that we deliver fuel to. We delivered last year approximately 24,000 loads of fuel, and I can count on one hand how many spills we had and contained on the driveway. So I know several people have brought up spills and trash, and I mean, I think there's a misconception that this convenience store, if it was approved for us to build, there'd be trash all over the driveway, and we'd be spilling fuel on the driveway, and that's just not the case. We don't operate stores like that. We don't have homeless people on our lots or behind the stores. Consuming alcohol on the premises is against the law. We don't allow that. We're, like I said, we've been in business for almost 40 years, and that's not how we operate. Do you have the slides that we presented?
I think it's attached to this.
They were going through a few of them earlier. There we go. So this shows the green or the blue dots, I'm sorry, are the locations of the stores that have been mentioned, and then the yellow dot is the subject property. All three of those stores are located on the north side of FM 93. In our experience, about 50% of the traffic will not turn left into a convenience store. So in our mind, the south side of 93 is really not being served convenience store wise. And we wouldn't be considering this property if we didn't think it was economically viable in the first place. Next slide, please. I think there was this was showing where the school was. There was concern that the property was too close to the school for alcohol consumption or alcohol sales. That had been addressed. So this is a photometric study that we do. This is not for the subject property, but one we've done for another piece of property. It shows the fixtures that we use on the right-hand side. And then this photometric study is done. It shows the downlighting. It measures the spread of lighting around the property. And, that the light spread, like Brian was talking about earlier, is addressed by this photometric study. And we try to eliminate almost all of the light spread by having down lighting and focused lighting on a property. Again,
Mr. Peters, before you move off of that, are you able to address light poles, how many, what height, et cetera, and can you address the height of the building?
The height of the building is, Brian was right, it's about 20 feet. But because we've not purchased this property, we've not done extensive drawings and done height of the light poles and all that. They would be on the perimeter by 93, not behind the building. Behind the building, we use wall packs that are also focused down.
What's a standard height of your other 24 stores? Roughly how tall are the poles?
They are about 20 feet.
Okay.
About the same height as a building.
Okay, thanks.
Screenings, I just gave some examples of screening that we could do behind the store to also prevent light spread. There is a privacy fence back there as well. I don't think that's been mentioned, but we would put in vegetation behind the store to block light and noise as well. This is just some examples. I'm just trying to make some notes of some of the comments that were made. So it was brought up about the driveways. The TxDOT driveways have been approved. The seller of the property has those documents from TxDOT, so those driveways have been approved. There was a concern about a truck turning left off of 93. The terminal where fuel would come from is in Waco, so that truck actually comes from 35 and would be turning right into the property. So the left turning truck off of 93, I don't think we would have an issue there. The drainage for the neighborhood and the commercial development was all approved by the city. I mean, I don't have any details beyond, I mean, the property seller has that, but I mean, I understand there may be some issues with drainage, but the current drainage was approved by the city, both for residential and commercial, and that was considering concrete too. And, whether we're here or not, that's going to be concrete there. So, I don't know that drainage, because there's a convenience store, has anything to do with our development. So there was also a concern about sidewalks. The dark gray shaded area on the outline are sidewalks that we would provide both along FM 93 and down Dubose Road. So those would have both, we've agreed to do that. The access on Dubose Road was not our development. That's the seller of the property. And that's going to be there whether there's a dentist office or what have you there. So I don't know if there's any other questions you've got for me. I'd be glad to answer any questions or concerns you have.
That TxDOT approval,
Yes.
how old is that?
I'm sorry.
Is that a recent approval or is it from 2004?
No, I don't know the date. Like I said, the seller of the property has that information, but I could get that to you.
All right. I'm just curious.
Question, you said, I may have misunderstood, but I think you said something about access onto 93. And you implied there was more than one access. I only saw one access to 93.
No, ma'am, it's that one there.
Right, but that's one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's just the one.
Just the one.
Yes, ma'am.
The other one is to Dubose and then off to 93.
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned your field delivery trucks will be coming from Waco, so they'll be turning right into the facility.
Yes, ma'am.
But when they leave, theoretically, they're gonna turn left.
No, you're right. You're right. And we do, and in busy locations too, we schedule deliveries. I mean, our trucks run 24/7.
Sure.
And we try to move deliveries where there's less traffic during the day. We try to avoid the 8 a.m.s and 5 p.m.s. Yes, ma'am.
There was a question of the pumps. Are they the pumps 24/7? Doors closed, but you can still pump gas.
We typically, I mean, most of our stores or all of our company op stores are 24 hours. But we do have customers that we deliver to that are not 24 hours. Some leave the pumps on, some don't. I don't think we would do that here, being it unmanned.
Anything else for Mr. Finn? Are y'all, Are you guys wanting to ask direct questions to Mr. Penny? Well, if you're going to do that, would you please step to the podium? And the reason why is so, because of the audio, so that we get it on the recording, other than speaking from the crowd.
No, that's fine.
I don't think he's worried about that. We have officers here. Plus you're wearing flip-flops, man.
So it's interesting we have this picture up. So I apologize. Am I okay to walk over and point on the screen without getting
Can you carry
anybody
that
all
microphone
upset?
with you?
Say again, sir?
Can you carry that little microphone with you? I think it's mobile.
Sure, I would love to. So the one thing I want to point out is if you look right about here, there's a gap in the fence line. That's where the drainage goes through the housing area that's right here. Anybody remember? Whose back address is that? That drainage also goes and leads all the way to that park on the backside of the housing area. Right here. And I know you don't have a lot of spills, but if anybody's ever been near a gas station, when it rains, there's a little bit of runoff over time, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. That's going to go ahead and kill all those lawns because it literally drains based off of slope and grading. And we asked specifically at the last zoning and planning commission, what's their plan for runoff? Is there a small holding area for at least a little to try and catch a little bit of that? Still hasn't been addressed. And they actually did go back and change the lots were originally combined with the original proposition, which wasn't authorized. They were separate lots intentionally because it's meant for a different type of zoning. So hopefully it's useful for you. Hopefully it's a good reference point. Thank you. Have a great day.
So to address a question there, and I'm trying not to get too technical here, but where we drop fuel, there's a bucket underneath the ground that's contained, and it goes around the fill adapter where the hose connects to it. If there is a spill, it goes into that bucket, which also has a plunger that you can pull and the fuel goes back into the tank. So it's not like if there's a spill, it's going on the ground or going on the concrete. I mean, I can't address the drainage. I mean, you know, that's just if there was a spill. I'm sorry.
Not doing that tonight. That's all right. It's all right this time.
So, you know, I've been in this business for almost 30 years, and I have never seen a spill that traveled across a driveway and got into a residential neighborhood or even gone off of our property in 30 years. So I hope that addresses the question.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Right there.
I want to just buy a motion.
I'm Jim Garvey. I'm at 7104 Valley Mist Drive, where this monster is going to be in the back of our neighborhood. And like I said, your predecessors back in 04, 07, they had the vision of seeing the neighborhood service aspect. And we just want to keep it that way. It's a no-brainer. We don't need the big, there's two, you know, on Fifth Street and 93 going down, there's another Circle K or whatever it is down there. There's a gazillion of them. But my question is the decision of the council here tonight based on your purchase? Have you purchased the property already, or is it based on, is it contingent upon their decision? Oh, I'm sorry. Is the purchase contingent on your decision?
That's right.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
And that's pretty standard.
Okay.
We're not going to invest in something that they may or may not be able to build.
Just so we're transparent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Mayor and council, I want to provide two clarifications that I got from my case manager who presented this very well at P and Z. One is that the plat, so this lot was platted and was approved in May. Drainage, of course, during the planning process is addressed. The city engineer's office has pretty strict requirements. And so that That's atypical, that the plat precedes the zoning, but I guess because it was already a developable piece of property, applicant moved forward with the plat. Second piece is that the ordinance actually does allow gasoline sales. So with or without fuel pumps. So that is an unusual neighborhood service. No fuel pumps are not allowed in neighborhood service by right, but the 2004 PD actually does list fuel pumps as allowed. So we are just talking about alcohol sales and just the overall PD amendment for that. So
And you are positive that 2004 ruling allows.
I'm very confident, but it's not in this presentation, so I can, before next reading, can be 100% positive. I'm just looking at a screenshot on my phone of that table, which does show fuel sales allowed with that PD. And it is in the packet. It's just not in the presentation.
Yes, sir. While you're there.
Yep.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Sure.
Can you run through, I don't know if you have a use table loaded up, but can you run through what would be allowed by right in standard neighborhood service? The way
Sure.
that it is currently.
Yes.
So,
Ability to advance and thank you.
yeah, there we go.
All right. I'm sorry, my eyesight and my knowledge of neighborhood service. I just need a reminder. So veterinary office, this is small. Bank, barber / beauty shop, food and beverage sales without fuel, but the
That's
PD.
Restaurant.
Sorry, yes.
Restaurant
Include a restaurant, can include a convenience store, just
without.
neighborhood service without the alcohol sales, without the fuel pumps, just for base neighborhood service.
Yeah.
Veterinary office, no animal hospital, various retail shops and services, just general, smaller retail. And then the CUP for the alcoholic beverage sales for off-premise consumption, beer and wine, which is what we're here for today. A gym, those are typical.
Okay. Thank you. We have them queuing up. Who's next?
I'm sorry, Brian, before we take the next person, I'm now confused.
Sure.
I'm not surprised, but for me. We are voting only on beer and wine?
The alcohol sales,
Beer and alcohol.
right, the CUP, which is why the item description does not include the fuel pumps.
Because fuel pumps
Are allowed per the PD, per the 2004 plan development. Yes, ma'am.
but I think there may be a lot of confusion by the residents. They can have fuel sales tomorrow without much of anything. Am I missing?
My understanding, once again, confirmed to be 100% correct, but because fuel sales were allowed with the plan development, that they could do a gas station by right, just not with the alcohol sales. Yeah.
I get that. Okay,
Now-
I am understanding you. So I
Okay.
do believe, since we have heard multiple people come up and talk about not wanting fuel sales, that there's confusion with the residents about that.
Sure. And I see Ms. Davis has that page up and she can confirm 100%, but we're looking at a screenshot. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay. So yeah, that is a comment in the PD. It looks like that was not added. So apologize for that confusion. So,
Okay, now I'm completely confused.
well, it's understandable. It's a confusing case. So-
So
So the CUP, so a neighborhood service, the PD did not change that neighborhood service requirement to where if fuel pumps are to be added, the CUP is required for that and the alcohol sales. So yeah, that's why I wasn't sure. Wanted to thank you, Ms. Davis, for clarifying that.
So it does appear that we should have noticed the fuel sales for the SUP. So we are not properly noticed to vote on that. We are properly noticed to vote on the alcohol item. So you can vote on the alcohol portion tonight, and then we can follow up and properly notify or post for the fuel sales at your next meeting. So either you can table it all and we can repost everything, or you can go ahead and vote on the alcohol portion tonight, and then you can follow up at your next meeting for the fuel portion of the item.
Okay. May I ask the developer a question? Ready, Mr. Penny? Would you please? So you're asking for both fuel sales and alcohol sales?
That's correct.
If you had one and not the other, what impact would it have on this project?
It's not a viable project.
Okay, all right, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Who's next back there?
My name is Gary Freitag, and I'm with the developer who submitted the plat.
Okay,
And just for everyone's information, the drainage does not run through the subdivision. It runs back to Dubose Road. And that was approved back in, I think, January, February this year. So the plans are there.
okay, thank you.
Can I interrupt? Cap, I don't mean to be contentious, and I apologize because I'm gonna sound that way. But they're talking about the drainage right now with the rain going into the subdivision. So what's the deal? What does that mean?
Well, it's not going through the subdivision. There will be drainage that takes it
In
back
other
to
words,
Dubose.
it's going to be it's going to change from what it is now.
There is a drainage area at the back. There was a low area, so that was put in, oh geez, 15, 17 years ago to take.
That's
care of.
that's the area with the playground equipment in it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is a,
Yeah, and
it's
that's
about-
not, that's
it's
not
a 7
unusual.
acre area.
Yeah, it's large. It's large. And that's not unusual.
No. and
That's
it's
not the only one of
only-
those in town.
Not only is it our water from around Dubose, it's from upstream. So I think the new subdivision that's on the north side has some detention. But looks like, well, no, on the other side of the street.
Oh, right.
And, but it looks like we have the largest detention area there and have had, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Williams. I'm at 7305 Valley Miss. And can we go back to the picture where in front of the bowl? The next one, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. Can I take the mic and I want to go over and
Yes,
point
of
it?
course.
It's okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we talk about having the trucks come in and out. Okay, this is what I see. Down Dubose, even though you're saying they're gonna come in from 93, I see them coming down Dubose. Not only that, during school time, we have the Christian school. They come through the back way
and come out our way. So we don't have sidewalks, and the kids, they're on the side, they're waiting. So we have from small kids all the way up to high school. And we have 3 disability kids that the bus comes in and out. So I see the trucks coming down that way. And even though the garbage trucks, they come that way, now I see big trucks coming that way as well.
Do
So-
you mean along Forester, then on to DeBose to get back on 93?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And then with liquor at that store, I see more crime coming our way. We have people now, I have footage, and I know other people here that in our neighborhood have it, where people are going into our cars trying to see if they open, also our garages and everything. So if we have something like that over there, our crime is going to go all the way up. And I didn't move in that neighborhood and buy and purchase a home, me and my husband, to have this crime going on. And 2, if so, I could have stayed in Iraq. And my husband could have stayed there and we could have been fighting. But we wanted this home for peace. And we love our neighbors, all us get along. And also, I'm looking at it, why will we have a liquor store to create this crime there? And our gates sometimes don't close. One side do not have gates. So we're gonna have people coming through our neighborhood. During Christmas time, people come through all the time. And so usually during November through Christmas time, we usually have a lot of people and things go missing and all that. But put that there, see what happened.
Okay, very good. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but just to be very clear, this isn't a liquor store,
Yes.
right? And there's no hard list. This is, beer and wine.
Even buying beer and everything comes along with people coming in and coming out.
I need to be sure and clarify that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's with beer and wine.
Yep.
We're gonna have more crime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sheila Stanfield. I live at 3516 Valley Mist. I've been there for 15 years. I built my home from the ground up. I love the neighborhood. I have seen the transition and the changes. When I first got there, we didn't have the park. It took me 3 years in coordination with Parks and Recreation to get the playground and the sidewalks in. And it was all about the budget. I understand this is about the money too, right? We pay taxes just like everybody else. And I love our neighborhood. I love everybody that's there. We have issues, obviously, and a lot of them have been addressed over and over and over again. The ingress and egress of the neighborhood. The safety and security because of the break-ins now and how it'll elevate with the sale of liquor and alcohol beverages. The lighting, okay, my home is directly behind where this will be. And I just want to say, I feel sort of violated because this is my forever home. And I always was anticipating the nice salons and professional establishments that were going to be lined up behind the back of my home. And now, a few months ago, I'm told, oh, we're going to start building this gas station that's going to be right adjacent to the back of your fence. There's nothing you can do about it. It's coming because, they're going to make money off of it. And I'm thinking, oh my Lord, what can I say? What can I do? So right away, I didn't agree. I didn't know that I had to keep disagreeing. I still don't agree. I don't care if they have the best high fence they can have, or they figure out the drainage, or they turn the pumps off at 10 o'clock at night. For me, it's about the quality of life and my security and my livelihood for the future. I don't feel that this type of establishment is the type of establishment that anyone would purchase their home valued now close to $500,000 to say, yeah, let's put this on the backside of your fence. And I ask that you consider that as if this were your home and someone told you that, how would you feel? And what would you do? And to help me, please say that.
Thank you. So you've spoken. Well, hold on. Don't take offense yet. Is there anybody else? What a policy we have here is no one speaks the second time until everyone has had their first helping. So is there anybody else that would like to come speak? No disrespect to anybody, but I feel like we're getting to the point now where we're kind of regurgitating what's being said. And it's been heard loud and clear up here. I promise you, again, not being disrespectful, but if you're going to come up for a second time, it needs to be super new.
Well, it's not new, it's clarification. If I'll step in here. It's actually not new. It's more clarification on the drainage. No one's really got a plan. That's already been discussed. I don't want to beat that down. But if you here, I want to do the mic thing. I hadn't got to do that yet. So you come up here.
You guys are here for entertainment mostly, I think.
So their sidewalk ends there. That's great. We're talking the drainage with the rain. So we don't actually have drain pipes. And I don't know if I haven't heard anyone say that. We're open gullies. And basically when it does come down, it's just an open gully. That'll go down. If you go all the way to the picture of the DuBose Road down to the park, I don't know if we have one that covers all the way down. But that's down that road, then the kids bus stop, and then it continues down. That water comes so high, it comes up to the people's fences. On Mondays, it was literally up to the back of their fences. So I just wanted to kind of emphasize, there's actually no drain pipes there. It's just, it's open. And then I had one question for the gentleman. The fuel delivery, well, it kind of goes back to, if we go back to the one exit on DuBose, and this is me for educational purposes, there is a Valley Ranch sign right there on the outside of the exit. I drive a motorhome and a trailer that's 60 feet long. I couldn't make that turn. I could not. There's no way a semi is going to exit on a normal driveway there that they have proposed. So I just kind of put that out there.
So we do turning radius studies too,
course.
and it's comfortable to get an 18-wheeler in and out of there, that driveway. I mean,
Yep, of course.
we do it all the time, a lot tighter situations than this.
Okay.
Turning onto DuBose off of 93 and then making the turn into the development.
That's correct.
there.
That's correct. And going back to the drainage issue, again, can we go back to the commercial property? The map, I'm sorry, that shows the entire commercial strip of property there. Right there. So again, whether a convenience store is there or a restaurant or dentist office or whatever, this is going to be concrete. This is going to be concrete. So whether it's a convenience store or whatever business is there, the drainage issue is going to remain.
Okay. All right, folks, we need to wrap this up. I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're kind of going tit for tat on this, and this needs to be better than that. So it better be good. Oh, come on up.
I just wanted to share that, yes, there is a drainage issue, and I know because I have the home when the water comes down and that I'm on this road here, it levels, it sits in my yard because it doesn't drain off well. And it rained hard the other day. I still had water the next day because of that drainage issue. So I kind of have an issue now before anything ever gets there. And the wash off from the oil and the fuel or whatever that comes off of that pavement that they're gonna have is gonna come right to my yard. And that's gonna be the issue that I'm gonna have.
Okay, thank you. Can I call it? Thank y'all for your permission to call it. All right, very good. Then at this time, I will close the public hearing. And council, I'll entertain a motion on item 7 minus the fuel sales, correct? Yeah, alcohol sales only. I have a motion on item 7.
I don't think it's gonna do any good to vote for one without the other. I move to table.
If we table it, what happens?
If we don't get a second, then nothing happens.
Right.
And it dies for lack of a second and can come back in no sooner than 6 months.
Right. And if we get a second and table it, we're back here in Tower of the Lawn with the exact same issues. With the exception of we then address alcohol and fuel.
Mhm.
And just for clarification, you would actually have to make a motion and get a majority vote to deny the zoning application for the 6-month moratorium to apply.
Oh.
It just dying for lack of a second or not passing because you didn't get a super majority wouldn't trigger that same time frame. So I just want to make that
Okay,
clarification.
thank you. Thank you for that. I would recommend that we go ahead and vote on the alcohol sales. And that'll be one less thing that would need to be addressed in the next meeting. We've heard lots of information about both sides, both alcohol and fuel. So let's go ahead and, of course, I can't make a motion or a second. So I'm suggesting that we go ahead and move forward with the vote. If anyone's willing to make a motion in a second to address the alcohol sales.
It's sort of like a camel's nose under the tent.
I don't know what that means.
That's only one of them.
Okay, well, but then my recommendation is to do that. If anyone's willing to make a motion or a second. Motion and somebody else make a second. So again, I will entertain a motion on item number 7 regarding alcohol sales only. Do I have a motion? No motion? All right, item 7 dies for lack of a motion. Before we move on though, to me, this is one of those cases where you need to be careful what you wish for. Many times, I mean, at some point with the way Temple's growing and the traffic that's there, right? These retail establishments, one of their main things is, do I have enough room to build what I want? And then do I have the traffic count that I need to make a profit, right? Someone said earlier that that somebody's going to buy that piece of land and make a profit off of it. Well, that's what we do. So even if this item dies, at some point that piece of land is going to sell. It's not going to sit there vacant forever. And you may end up getting something in there that, you know, like a restaurant that has a dumpster full of food and, you know, brings in birds and, you know, all that stuff. It's just important to understand that this place is going to sell. And this is also kind of one of those cases that if you really want to control it, just like your home, you better buy it, right? So, and I'm not suggesting everybody pool their money, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But just understand that just like at your home, right? You own your property line. You don't own your neighbor. And this piece of land is your neighbor. And so again, something's going to happen there. And so just think through that. You know, kind of what can you live with?
And I just want
Okay.
to add to what you're saying, that a restaurant, people are going to turn left
all the complaints about turning left, the restaurant will have privacy or security lighting all the time. And a restaurant is gonna, if it were to come there, would have alcohol sales. Just a
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah. Just a very quick example. Years ago, we worked on a project where there was going to be a self-storage facility near a very nice neighborhood, just like you guys are talking about. You know, y'all live in a nice place. And the traffic number of trips generated for a self-storage facility was like 10 trips a day. And so if you're worried about traffic, 10 trips a day is better than, you know, whatever. And so now that property's been built on and it has the traffic count for that business that's there now, because neighbors came just like this and didn't want a storage facility. The traffic count there is now probably 15 times what the storage facility would have generated. And so they won the battle, but if traffic was their main concern, they lost the war because there's lots of traffic that goes in and out of that property on an equally busy street every day. So just, you know, I'm not telling you guys do what you want to do what you need to do. But what I appreciate most is that the neighborhood got together and was willing to come out. Okay. Because it does make a difference. We are your peers. We live in your neighborhoods and we care what happens to Temple equally. So we appreciate you guys very much. All right. Thank y'all. All right. Moving on. Item number 8 is a first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning request. Should have put this item at the last. First reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning request from Ag to Temple Medical and Educational District T South Sub-District on 19.05 plus or minus acres, situated in the Maximo Merino Survey Abstract Number 14, City of Temple in Bell County, Texas. Addressed is 4815 South 5th Street, tax appraisal parcel ID number 108174. Mr. Chandler.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is also a South Temple rezoning. This is in the T-Med South area, circled below. And so subject to the 2017 T-Med South Master Plan, also more recently, the T-Med Neighborhood Plan, and I'll show you that in a second. But so what you see there is a gateway and essentially an extension of First Street. There's a development, as you all know, under construction at Blackland and in this area that it will extend First Street. It's actually called King's Cross at this location, but either way, this development would extend a lot of those T-Med features and mix of uses and extend that roadway. And we'll look at that in a little more detail in a second. And so, as I mentioned, it's also in the T-Med Neighborhood Plan adopted by council on September 1st of this past year. And once again, just accentuates the mix of uses desirable in T-Med. And looking at the background and we zoom into that property, you can see it's almost 20 acres. It does back up to the Georgetown Railroad and would be part of the future trail system, which phase 1 has been funded and will be let in approximately a year. And bottom right-hand corner, you can see just a conceptual layout. The applicant is here and can answer some questions after the presentation, but essentially a mix of multifamily, but smaller scale multifamily, fourplexes, triplexes, not a large scale multifamily like you see, say, across from Scott and White. And so in T-Med, as you all know, the T-Med code was amended in 2018, and it allows for warrants. So T-Med has strict architectural landscaping standards, more so than really, I'd say, any other district, zoning district in town. But it's also not one size fits all. So there's the ability to enter a warrant process. So we've got a variety of warrants on the screen that went to the Development Review Committee for consideration. I mean, these are things such as dumpster location, having bike racks at every complex, who's intended to be for larger multifamily, not necessarily for quadplexes or fourplexes. So what you have on the screen is what was considered by the Development Review Committee and approved by me as the Planning and Development Director per the ordinance. Just want to be transparent, as those items are basically exceptions. But a big one that I wanted to bring to your attention is multifamily uses that are required to front on a collector or arterial, because these are considered multifamily, but they're fourplexes. They're not giant multifamily of 200 units. Technically, it doesn't meet code without a warrant. The warrant was approved for that. Looking at the layout and overlaid on top of the aerial map, you can see what that would look like. It would also include a connection to the Georgetown Railroad Trail. Green, of course, those are small neighborhood parks. Very, very consistent with the concept for the Blackland Ranch, which you all did not see because that did not require rezoning. It was already zoned TMed South. And so, but you see it under construction, mix of residential and retail. And then also on that concept plan, there are 4 retail lots that would front on Fifth Street. And so the future or the zoning map, you can see where TMed South currently ends, and that's the Blackland Ranch subdivision. And the ag property is the subject property today. Future land use shows this is TMed. Water and sewer, there's a 12-inch water line on and within Fifth Street and an 8-inch sewer line. Thoroughfare plan and trails. South Fifth Street is a major arterial. And what I really want to point out, you see the proposed community collector. That is, to the north above the federal property, the Blackland AgriLife Extension Facility. That's future First Street. And this becomes King's Cross through south of Blackland, through the Blackland Ranch development, and would be extended with this development. And per the alignment of the thoroughfare plan would terminate, or at least be an intersection at Fifth right across from Waters Dairy. So providing additional access from Waters Dairy, where people don't just have to take a left onto Fifth Street, they'd have an opportunity to take this road to the north. So here's the site, currently farmland. To the north, Blackland Ranch, a lot of site work going on there. To the south, Sarah's Glen subdivision, those are duplexes. And then immediately to the south of that, you have Ray Allen Elementary School. And to the west, you have, that's obviously the intersection of Waters Dairy and Fifth. And just beyond those trees, you have Friars Creek and the trail, and also the Silverstone Park. And so just looking at TMed South and other uses, particularly within the retail, very consistent with the neighborhood service district that we looked at before, neighborhood serving type retail. 35 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. 4 representing 6 properties were returned in agreement. Those all from the neighbors to the south. So the staff recommends approval of the request. And at the April 17th meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission voted 9-0 to approve per staff recommendation. And there are no conditions because once again, this is a base rezoning to TMed South. So all the architectural and landscaping standards apply once development occurs.
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Council, any questions for Mr. Chandler? Item 8 is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on it may do so. Just please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the platform. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you're good. Nope. There you go.
There was a section that said parking and parking and green space. How does that work?
Just, are you talking about
On
in
the
the
map.
use table or on the actual
On the
site plan, the concept plan?
Yes, concept.
Shown
Right
right
there, it
there?
says
Okay, so those
open
are
space and parking.
small pocket parks. And in terms of the parking, I guess I can ask the applicant, Jeremy Jurasik is here as the applicant, and he could clarify in terms of whether parking may be provided. It may be a little early to make that determination. You know, the intent is for these to be neighborhood parks and TMed to have trails and other hike and bike connectivity to smaller parks and not just regional or community parks. So there are no additional parking requirements for that park space. I don't know if Jeremy, if it's too early to be able to make that, or Mr. Patterson.
I guess I understand it now. So if it was a pocket park, you probably have a couple parking spots for people to park and go.
Perhaps
play and go back
it's
out.
not required, but so if that's what the applicant decides is what serves the neighborhood best, then that would be included, but not required by code. And Mr. Pat Patterson as well.
Pat Patterson, 3144 Southfield. We're just continuing our residential developments with commercial properties in the front. We're serving basically workforce folks. Our previous subdivisions behind Lowe's are now providing places for our police officers, our nurses, our teachers, people that are in the workforce and needing housing. We're at 99% occupied with over 1,200 properties. So there's a continuing need for housing, and we're excited about providing this. Certainly, as we get a little bit further along with the actual plat, we will address those little pocket parks. And in previous subdivisions we put our little in subdivision parks, we've had parking spaces for that. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Yep.
Brian, can I ask you just a quick point of clarification to make sure I understand and council does as well, that the site plan that's shown, the concept plan, is not binding because this is not a plan development. So it's shown for demonstration purposes, but nothing would require it to be developed in that way. Are the parks required, or it's just shown as conceptual?
It was not usable for anything else, so we decided to go ahead and put some green space in there and there will be some kind of park facilities in those little green areas. They also will probably be helping with detention of water to try to keep the water from flowing out on Field Street.
Council,
Thank you.
anything
I
else?
just want to make sure the site
No.
plan wasn't binding.
Yep, no, good question. Council, anything else for Mr. Patterson?
I just have a comment. I like the way the Waters Dairy Road is gonna be able to go straight across and curve up and kind of flow as what are we calling it? The community collector.
And there's a street light already there, so
Mhm.
that's a very big benefit. City doesn't have to put one in, it's city.
I think that's, if we do that, that'll be really good for the flow over there. I know it's not binding, but I know that's your plan.
And also, before Mr. Lytle comes up, just to clarify the thoroughfare plan, that alignment, the road is not going to be so close to the Georgetown Railroad. That's, that's very conceptual as well. You can see with the conceptual plan below, that's going to be more in the middle of the property, not hugging the railroad and trail.
Wow.
Alan Lytle, and it's addressing that same thing. I love that street that's gonna join with Waters Dairy, but it's that dashes going all the way back up to First Street. So that's not there. It's not going to be part of any of this because it's not his property.
Not sure I exactly understand your question. So let me try to just explain. So on the thoroughfare plan, that curve shows going all the way up to Blackland Road.
Okay.
Their alignment is already established by the Blackland Ranch and their plan and their plat. So that's established. This development would continue that section.
So there's gonna be a road
all the way to Blackland.
Okay,
And
that's-
then
that's-
there's
that's
federal
confusing.
property north of Blackland that obviously is under their control. So but from Blackland to Waters Dairy, there will be full connection.
When this gets approved and platted and all that,
Yes, sir.
the road that we're showing going from Waters Dairy, curving around, will actually join a road that's going to be there.
That's correct.
Okay. That was confusing.
Anybody else? Is there anybody on the virtual platform? No? Okay. So council, if there are no further questions for Mr. Chandler, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 8.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item number 8 as presented by Mr. Chandler.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Am I still the only one? I vote aye. We've got it going now, I think. Here we go. Item number 8 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item number 9 is a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Plan Development Ordinance 2022-0043 for a rezoning request from Plan Development Single Family Dwelling 1 to Plan Development Single Family Dwelling 2 on approximately 95.27 plus or minus acres situated in the Maximo Merino 11 League Grant Abstract Number 14, Bell County, Texas, located on the north side of East FM 93, approximately 0.5 miles east of the intersection with Fifth Street, tax appraisal parcel ID number 40918. Mr. Chandler.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And if this description sounds familiar, it's because it was rezoned late last year. And as you recall, there was a condition in that plan development that they do a traffic impact analysis. They've done that. And so the new request or amended request is really in response to the results of that study. So that ordinance 2022-0043 rezoned to Plan Development Single Family 1. And so they have come back after the traffic impact analysis and are requesting smaller lots in response to the market. And so there's a layout that I'll show you that will show the basic configuration, but once again, it's not a binding site plan. The traffic impact analysis was conducted, and there are recommendations, of course, onto this TxDOT roadway, FM 93, and we're talking about again for signalization and dedicated turning lanes along FM 93. And so here's conceptual layout. And so the major takeaway here is that there's a community collector, once again, similar to King's Cross or the community collector we just talked about connecting to Waters Dairy. This one per the thoroughfare plan coming through the middle of this piece of property, and community collectors do not allow driveways fronting, just like that previous development. We didn't talk about it, but there will be no residential driveways on that community collector, and there would not be on this one either. And so here you can see the property immediately to the east of the Alta Vista subdivision. Same developer, WB. Mr. Mike Wilson is here representing WB, and engineer from Yago Engineering, Scott Brooks. So if y'all have any questions, they'll be well equipped to answer them. And so once again, the site doesn't look much different than it did end of last year. Still vacant, undeveloped. To the west, the Alta Vista subdivision. To the east, more farmland. And so really just the takeaways on this table, that the current single family one plan development, single family one allows minimum of 7,500 square foot lots. Single family two would allow a minimum of 5,000 square feet. And so 70 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. And so we received 3 in disagreement, and those were residents of Alta Vista. So just along the western boundary, on the other side of the railroad tracks. I should point out that active Union Pacific rail line there as well. So staff recommends approval of the plan development from PDSF1 to PDSF2, subject to the following conditions, that allowing the minimum lot width of 50 feet, which would respond to the market needs that WB has expressed a need for. The eastbound with an eastbound dedicated left turn lane and signalization at FM 93 per the traffic impact analysis. A second access is provided prior to the 150th dwelling unit as recommended by the traffic impact analysis. And by the way, the previous one, I should say, it's very specific. Traffic impact analysis recommends those road improvements at the 95th lot. So we want to follow that traffic impact analysis recommendation to a T. A maximum of 389 lots, recognizing that they would, by fire code, they would only be allowed to have 300 initially, and would have to work on additional access to be able to get beyond that. That the community collector shall not have lots fronting it, like we discussed previously. And at the April 17th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 9-0 to approve per staff recommendation. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions. And once again, Mr. Wilson and Mr. Brooks are available too.
Thank you, sir. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, we ask you to step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform. None. Anyone from the audience? All right, council. At this time, I'll close the public hearing. If there are no further questions for Mr. Chandler, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve item 9. As submitted.
We have a motion by Councilmember Pilkington. We have a motion by Councilmember Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Item 9 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 10, it's the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 5 ambulance services of the city's Code of Ordinances. Mr. Nuttall.
Thank you, council. And I'll go through this fairly quickly because we did talk about it at our last workshop. But I do know that Councilmember Postington and Councilmember Grant have joined us since then. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, feel free to slow me down. But I'm just going to try and pick up on the highlights. So the reason we are going through the Chapter 5 ambulances right now is because the majority of our franchises, both EMS and non-emergency medical service transport, expire at September this year. And keeping on this timeline allows us to renew those franchises under a revised Chapter 5. It'll be effective in that period of time. In Article 1, this is the general definitions section. Throughout, we've kind of formatted to make sure definitions are capitalized throughout the document, so it's easy to figure out what is a defined term. And we've added the definitions as shown up here. In the EMS section, we made some changes to 2 sections in there, basically just clarifying what our current practices are and making it clear what those sections actually mean. As we go into the non-emergency ambulance transfer services, this is the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. It makes up the vast majority of the ordinance. So the first section we updated here was just updating the franchise application requirements and requiring an annual list to be updated with the fire chief. The next section, we updated insurance and bond requirements to more closely align with our current requirements in other matters. We updated the franchise fee. While we are keeping the same franchise fee format, we just clarified a little bit in the franchise fee section and reduced some duplicate wording between that section and a section that regarded inspection of books and records. So all of that language is now just all of the inspection language is now just consolidated in that one section rather than split up between the two. On the transfer of franchise, we tightened up. We've had a prohibition on transferring franchises, but we wanted to tighten up the language to make it even more clear. If there is any change, you need to reapply. We also updated personnel requirements as well as equipment standards. And on personnel requirements, we also made it clear that we will have the ability to get documents confirming that your personnel do meet the standards. And then we tightened up the language on refusal to give service. We had a lot of items listed there, but for the most part, they kind of fit under the disorderly or unruly. And so we were able to take away a lot of basically extra or superfluous language. We were also created a base time for the requirement for dispatch. They're still allowed to make agreements. It's pretty standard practice throughout this that they'll actually set a time out sometime in the future. But because it had no specific time previously, this at least gives us a base time to go off of. And finally, rates. Franchisees are allowed to petition the council for a change in rates and kind of present their reasons why they need the rates to be raised. We've created a base of 60 days, although additional time, if it's reasonably needed, will be allowed if we can't get the public hearing in front of city council in that time. And that's my quick overview for tonight. I am here for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions? All right. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on this matter may do so. We ask you step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform.
Alan Lytle, Paseo del Plata. I realize it's a challenge for the city, but I also understand that a ambulance service that operates under license in the city for a non-life threatening emergency only has one choice, and that's to take you, well, unless you're a veteran, and that's to take you to Scott and White. Some of us would much rather go, if it's, again, non-threatening, to Harker Heights, to a different hospital. And this apparently is not allowed under our present chapter on ambulance services. Thank you.
I don't think that's correct. I think the trip has to either start or end in the Temple city limits. Is that?
That
Is that
is
correct?
correct.
Yeah.
It's if the trip starts or ends. And I might even have that section in here.
Oh, does it?
For it to be.
But they could still deliver the patient if requested to Harker Heights? Yep.
Yeah, so
You'll
it
need to speak
doesn't,
up here.
it doesn't preclude the
Okay.
transfer to
Okay,
a
good.
different city. It just doesn't require a franchise
got
if
it.
that's what's happening.
Yeah, so the franchise is required
but the-
only if the whole trip starts and ends in of Temple. If it either doesn't start in City of Temple or doesn't end in City of Temple, you can use one of the franchisees, but you can also go out and there are additional private services that would be able to provide services.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I guess that would fit if a Killeen ambulance or some other city's ambulance wanted to bring somebody to Scott and White, they can.
Yes.
My name's Lisa Peace, and I have a question on this because when I lived in Killeen, they could bring me from Killeen to Scott and White, but I can't go from Temple to Killeen Hospital, which I don't understand why I don't have that choice. Because personally, to me, I'd rather not go to Scott and White Hospital. I've had a lot of conflicts of interest with some of the doctors in the ER because of the care that they give. I would prefer to go to either Waco Hospital, and why an ambulance can't take you there,
Chief, would you like to address that?
especially if you're being charged for it anyway. You should have that option.
I understand. Let
And if you can
Chief,
go from Killeen to here, why can't you go somewhere else?
Chief will address that.
Okay.
So Mayor, back in 2017, when we switched away from Baylor Scott and White EMS and went to Temple EMS, that was part of the ordinance that you had to go to a Temple, basically to Baylor Scott and White for evaluation or whatever. We took that out in 2017 and that has not been the case since then. I can assure you that I know that Temple EMS and Acadian routinely transport to Harker Heights with patients from the city of Temple. So that did exist before, but it does not now. And so basically people have the right to choose where they want to go. I believe in that. And there are other options out there. So that's why we removed that.
I can personally tell you it works. I got transported from Premier ER on Adams to Seton.
Yep.
I don't know why I have not had that option.
Now, the individual ambulance service, if they have a policy of their own, then that may be their individual policy. And so you can also request a different ambulance service if that's not, an acceptable transportation for you.
Well, obviously the patient's not going to know that, right? That's not something that they would expect to need to ask.
Correct.
So I think that might need to be clarified with our franchisees that they would take the patient wherever the patient requested.
Yeah. Now, there are a few medical issues that when they happen by state law, you are required to go to the nearest appropriate facility. And that is typically Scott and White because they are the level 1 trauma center for the area. And then also have several specialties. So
But that wouldn't be emergency. I mean, that wouldn't be a non-emergency transport.
No, absolutely not emergency. It would be
Okay.
an emergency type of an incident, much like a traumatic injury of significant nature or something like that.
in my business, right? I'm in the health insurance business and I have a number of clients that don't have, that their insurance, they may, either Scott and White's not in network or they get a better financial deal by going to Seton or, a non-Scott and White, non-local hospital.
Right, yes, sir.
So does that make sense to possibly clean that up?
If it's a franchisee, it has to begin and end. So this isn't something that we can clarify with our
I guess that's true.
franchisees because these are non-franchisees that would be providing that service outside of Temple.
Yeah, so as the example earlier, if Colleen came and picked someone up in Temple and took them back to the hospital that's in Colleen, then that's perfectly fine. No franchise
So
required.
is there a non-emergency transport service operating in Temple that is not a franchisee?
So there are non-franchisees in and out of the city at all hours of the day and night because of Scott and White and Children's. So there are a lot of out-of-town ambulances that come in and drop off patients there. As far as taking them out, I don't think it happens very much. Most of the time, Scott and White ambulance will transfer patients out. But as far as, just operating, coming and grabbing someone and going out, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Because it is, if that's the case, then by default, someone like Ms. Priest would end up going to a facility she didn't want to go to.
No, she should be able to choose it. Yeah, she should be able to choose anywhere she wants to. If she tells him, hey, I want to.
But if they start here and they stop in Harker Heights,
Yep.
that can't be with a franchisee.
No, that can be, absolutely.
Okay, I'm obviously not,
Yeah.
I'm missing
not
something
understanding.
here.
Yeah, so,
No, not yet.
yeah, so the franchisees can pick up in Temple and transport to anywhere they want to. It's just if they're going to pick up in Temple and drop off in Temple, then they have to have a franchise. So if they come into Temple, pick up and then go somewhere else, no problem,
But a franchisee.
without a
can-
franchise.
A franchisee can leave the town or come into the town, or a non-franchisee can also leave the town or come into the town.
Correct,
Only franchisees can
Yeah.
stay in town, transport from in town to in town.
correct. That is correct.
I'm
Yes,
still
it-
not understanding.
And there is even specific language that states that the franchisees are allowed to serve the county and serve other areas.
But they still don't respect your wishes, and that's my whole thing.
That's an individual.
Yeah, that's not something we're
policy
gonna
of the
address
ambulance
here.
service. Yeah,
But can I tell you a situation?
Well, no, I don't think we need a story. We understand your question and, again, I think that you would just have to be,
Well, it was a situation I was stuck in a couple years ago. That I was banned from Scott and White for a year for a situation that was a total lie. And I was still.
would you
forced-
please go ahead and step up to the microphone?
I was still forced to go to Scott and White ER by ambulance, even though I was banned from there. And I kept telling the ambulance drivers, I'm banned from Scott and White for a year. I had a doctor lie. I had gotten, my shed had gotten robbed and somebody tried to break into the back of my house. And when I went to the doctors that day, later that afternoon, he asked me how I felt. And my legs were really swollen. I was real sick. And I said, I'm not feeling too good. And I told him I wanted to see my doctor. I said, right now I feel like I have to buy a gun, purchase a gun. I didn't own a gun to protect my home because I just got robbed. I feel violated. And he said, after I told him I wanted to see my doctor and not him because of what was going on, he told me, no, you're not going to see your doctor. I'm here today, not her. And I said, well, I was told that she's precepting. I want to see her because of the situation. Well, anyway, at the end of the thing, I never got to see her. And he said there was nothing he could do for me and that I needed to leave. And I was really sick. My legs hurt so bad. They were 3 times the size of what they were because it was fluid retention. And I started yelling and I told them that they were all effing fired. And I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but I never threatened with a gun because I didn't even own one. But they decided the next day that they were going to say that I threatened them with a gun. First of all, anybody in here knows that if you threaten anybody with a gun, it's Scott and White, they're going to call the police first thing and have you locked up. They didn't do that. They waited till the next day. And then they called me and said that we're looking for you. Where are you? What do you mean, where am I? I'm taking my son to the doctor. So I turned myself in, but still I was locked. They told me that I was no longer allowed at Scott and White for a year. So, but still they made the paramedics take me to Scott and White. I'm afraid I'm going to get locked up. You're telling me I can't go there for a year. And that was when it was their paramedics picking people up from their homes. It was not franchisees.
So that's been over a year.
Oh, it's been a long time ago,
So,
but
so you
still.
got clearance now to go. to
Oh,
Scott
that was a
Moore.
long time ago. Yeah, but still,
Okay.
but back then, but this is still the same situation. You still can't go someplace else.
Okay.
I shouldn't have to go there if I don't want to, is my whole thing. I still don't trust them.
Understood.
After that situation, I don't trust Scott and White. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't want to go there.
So to clarify,
Mhm.
if she's picked up by a franchisee and says, I want to go to Harker Heights, I want to go to Seton, can she do that?
Yes, sir. By any franchisee, either the emergency service or the non-emergency, they will all take them to their hospital of preference within the immediate area. So Waco, Harker Heights, Colleen, and then obviously here in Temple. Now, they won't go to like Dallas
Sure.
or anything like
Yeah.
that, but they will take to the local ones that are just, 20, 30 minutes away. Absolutely. I
All
know
right.
that for a fact with 3 of them.
Okay, very good. Yeah, guys, this is getting nut.
Okay, I'm going to say, Chief and I have had this discussion right after I got run over on Adams Avenue and Main. Literally run over. Okay? Ambulance made it 20 minutes later because the only city ambulance that was available was in Taylor, Texas. So they had to wait for an ambulance to get to me. When they got there, don't get me wrong, I was, 2 blocks from one, and they appeared within minutes. I had a first responder there within minutes. Thank God I stayed conscious the entire time. The ambulance driver says, "Where would you like to go?" And I looked at him and said, quote, "Will you take me to Seton and Harker Heights?" "Well, no, ma'am, we can't." "Will you take me to St. David's in Georgetown?" "No, ma'am, we can't." I said, "Can you take me to Providence in Waco?" "No, ma'am, we can't." "Then why did you ask me that question?" This happened October 31st, 2019.
It sounds maybe that ambulance services need to be doing a better
Educated.
job of educating your people.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Because basically, when I got to Scott and White tried to kill me. Bottom line.
Okay.
Follow up, my question
Step to the mic.
my question, Alan, is we dial 911, have an accident, have a problem to get an ambulance. We don't have a choice on what ambulance is going to show up. 911 does not ask you, "Well, who do you want to come get you?" It's going to be the franchisee in Temple.
Then we will have
So
City of Temple personnel, maybe from legal, somewhere, contact these ambulance services and have them have a very strong understanding of their service area and be sure that that's then passed on to their drivers. It sounds like we have a miscommunication problem.
then that means that we're still operating under 2015 rules.
Mayor, I have a meeting with them coming up here in the next few weeks to discuss the changes to the chapter and inform everybody. And so I'll make sure that they are all aware of that. I'll be meeting with all the current franchisees.
Take it in writing and give them a thumb drive with PowerPoint on it.
Yep, will do.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. You bet. Anybody else? All right. There being none from the audience, none from the virtual platform, I'll entertain a motion on item number 10. You have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, please cast your vote.
Newbies.
I vote aye.
Item 10 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 11 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing a construction contract with Yoko Excavating LLC of Temple for the construction of West Adams 12-inch water line from State Highway 317 to Pepper Creek Elevated Storage Tank in the estimated amount of $1,796,547.50.
Mayor, this is on regular agenda primarily for voting purposes. If you'd like additional information on the item, I'm happy to provide that.
Thank you. Council, I'll entertain a motion on item 11.
Mayor, I'll make a motion on item 11 to approve. I'll second it.
Have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, please cast your vote. Item 11 has 4 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 1 abstention. Item passes. Moving on to item 12 is to consider adopting a resolution finding that 9 properties located in the city block bounded by East Avenue C, South 10th Street, Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, and East Avenue D are necessary for the Temple Belton County Annex Building Location Project and authorize the use of eminent domain to condemn those properties pursuant to Government Code Section 2206.053. Ms. Demers.
This is the Bell County Annex Project. We are needing 9 properties to acquire for future building of this of the Bell County Annex. The properties on the left, those in green are the ones that we are needing to acquire. Those in white are already owned by the city. And this is an aerial of the location. The aerial is a little dated. The structure adjacent to Avenue C has already been demoed, so there's only 2 unoccupied structures at this time. We have acquired 3 properties by agreement already, and the remaining properties we need to acquire through eminent domain, either because of title curative issues that are either very difficult or cannot be resolved in order to close by agreement at a title company. We've not been able to reach an agreement with the owner, or some combination of both. With this project, it does not require any business or individual relocations. The first 3 properties are all owned by the same owner. We made initial offers to the owner of record on January 25th, 26th, and 27th of this year. Just compensation per the appraised value for all 3 combined is $136,200. There is an unoccupied structure on 311 South MLK. The owner did engage an attorney, and we did end up sending our final offer on March 20th. We're currently in negotiations. We finally received a counter offer on April 25th. And so, like I said, those negotiations are ongoing. There are some title curative issues that we're hoping we can resolve if we are able to reach an agreement. But in the event we're not, we're still asking council to authorize eminent domain. For 315 South MLK, we made the initial offer on January 27th. Just compensation for the appraisals was $19,800. Initially, the property owner was communicating with Stateside Right-of-Way Services. They stopped accepting the calls. At this point, we've had no formal counter offers. We sent a final offer letter on March 22nd, 2023, and there are title curative issues with this property as well. 407 East Avenue C, initial offer made on January 27th. Just compensation was $3,008. As you can see, it's kind of a partial lot that the city already owns the front half. That's why the smaller amount on the appraisal. We've not been able to contact the owner, sent a final offer on March 31st, and there's also title curative issues with this property as well. 310 South 10th Street. We made an initial offer to the owner of record on January 27th. The just compensation per the appraisal was $19,800. Stateside's been in contact with the owner, but we never received a counter offer. A final offer letter was sent on March 20th, and there are a few title curative issues as well. 312 South 10th, Initial offer made January 27th, just compensation 19,800. Was able to, Stateside was able to get in contact with the owner multiple times, but he did not put forth a counter offer. We sent a final offer on March 8th. Again, title curative issues with this property as well. 314 South 10th, January 27th, initial offer was sent. Compensation, this one has an unoccupied structure. So the appraisal came in at 40,000. Its final offer was sent on April 14th. This particular property has multiple owners where some have been fairly cooperative with us, but we can't reach any unanimous agreement, and there's also title curative issues. 320 South 10th, initial offer was made on January 27th. The appraised value is 13,932. Final offer was sent on April 14th. We've had a fairly cooperative owner that we're pretty close to an agreement, but the title curative issues are making it difficult to close by agreement. So possibly those can be overcome, but would still ask council to authorize in the domain in the event that they're not. And so I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have. And also too, there's agents from Stateside on the online platform. If you have any questions that you might want to ask of them, they are available.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Ms. Demers or the Stateside rep?
Just, this is a lot.
I know, I'm sorry, I was going through it trying to.
Yeah,
save some time.
so eminent domain, just because we move forward, if we move forward
Mhm.
with eminent domain, you will still continue to work with these folks, right? This is just
Absolutely.
part of the,
And part of the process to
Yeah.
kind of keep it moving forward. But yes, we are always hoping to reach agreements, and a lot of times we do, even once we move forward in eminent domain.
gotcha.
Anything else? All right, then I will entertain a motion on item 12, and council, you have special motion language at the dais.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move. Oh,
This doesn't have a public hearing. That's why you were signed up earlier. Yep. I don't know, is that allowed? Out of courtesy? Yes, ma'am. Out of courtesy, we'll let you speak. If you would, please limit it to 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, so again, my name is Renetta DeGray, on the property at 310 South 10th Street. Before, I did allude to, I was trying to give you guys an alternate location due to the fact that you are looking to put this in a residential area. With that being said, I heard a lot tonight that had nothing to do with me, but several of developers said the exact same thing, that there is a need for residential development in Temple. There's a humongous need for residential development in the area that y'all are trying to put a commercial building. With that being said, I myself, I know 312 and 314 do not want this. I've also alluded to the fact that at 3401 South Adams, which is still in East Temple, is still a more appropriate area for you guys to do this, rather than have to go through the trouble of eminent domain. Look at another location that is similar, 4-minute drive from where it currently is to where you could be, and not have to disturb private owners, where some of these properties have curative issues and absentee owners. 312, 314, and 310 do not. I 310 have already started the process of going along with what the city wants to see in that area. Y'all made it a development, public development, is that what you were calling it? Where you made, there you go, plan development. You made it a plan development with specific criteria for building in that area. I've submitted my plans. My plans were approved. I got my permit. So it's not like people aren't trying to come to that area and do more, do better. I personally, I am, because I was raised there. I do want to see all the stuff that y'all said y'all wanted to do in East Temple. I want to see it, and I want to be a part of it. And I don't think that it's right for y'all to come in and say, well, you could possibly, but not right here. And that's what I was told on the phone. Well, maybe we can find you something else. Why do I need to find something else? I've already got something else. Not only do I have something else, you've already taken one property from me. Not only have you taken one property from me already, if this continues, you're gonna take another one, which is why I sold that property today. So your numbers are not even accurate at this point. You're saying our property is only worth $20,000 per lot. I sold my property today on Avenue E, which is in the same area, for $60,000. People do want to be in that area. Developers do want to be in that area. So it's not like, well, nobody's done anything with it for this long or that long. That part is true, but nobody wants to do with anything with it, and nobody's going to take notice. Not so much. And you, sir, made a point. If you don't like what's going on, buy your property, buy your neighbor. I did. I bought 314. I'm gonna buy 312 tomorrow. I have no intentions on saying, yeah, go ahead and take my property for little or nothing. And maybe we can find you something else. I've been waiting to get to the point where I could develop that property. I've been waiting for 10 years so I could do that. And here it is now that I actually have the means to make it happen. You guys are saying no, not because you actually need to put that there, not because the public wants it there. Most people don't even care. Nobody cares where they have to go pay their taxes. Nobody cares where they have to go. I think y'all got like juvenile probation. Hell, nobody wants to go there. They're gonna go wherever you tell them to go to keep them out of trouble. We're gonna go where, I'm not even going to the annex building to pay my taxes. I do it online. So yes, you may need a new building. It's outdated. I saw it, it is. But the location where it is much better than where you're trying to put it. If there's a backdoor deal where y'all want to sell that lot, so be it, sell it, but go somewhere else. Don't take my personal property to make your vision be what you think it needs to be in my neighborhood. If you don't live there, then why? I think that's the problem. You don't live there. I haven't lived there. Nobody's lived there. There's a whole lot of empty lots over there that need some attention. But the address that I told you about also needs some attention. And you said, sir, that if we start doing something in the neighborhood, everybody else will follow. I'm a real estate broker and I absolutely believe that 100%. If you go down there to East Avenue Adams, other developers will follow the city. Whether it be commercial, whether it be residential, other people will follow you guys. If y'all reinvest that money that you're trying to take from us, throw down our necks. If you do that with that money, with an incentive, actually help people to cure titles and put something on that property that would actually be beneficial to y'all's planned developments, will go a hell of a long way as far as developing the neighborhood. And then you don't go down there to the other end and start dragging people down there or actually bringing people down there because your presence is there. You already have me. I know for sure I want to be there. I want to do more, and I'm willing to pay to do that. I've been willing to, like I said, I gave up a property in that same neighborhood. All these properties that I've had have been from my family, my grandmother. So not only am I losing my personal property that's actually dear to me, now you guys are taking my ability to make money. If I have to sell it, I know how to build a house and make $100,000, not $20,000. So I'm saying, please find somewhere else to go.
Thank you. All right. So again, on item 12, we don't have a motion or a second. So I'll entertain a motion on item number 12.
I move that the city of Temple approve resolution number 2023-0153R and authorize use of the power of eminent domain to acquire fee simple title of the following properties: 309, 311, and 315 South Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, as described as the south 2/3 of lot 5, the north 1/3 of lot 6, the south 2/3 of lot 6, and the north 1/3 of lot 7, in the south 20 feet of lot 8 and the north 10 feet of lot 9 and block 45 of the JW Roach addition, a non-dedicated addition in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, along with 407 East Avenue C and 308, 310, 312, 314, and 320 South 10th Street, described as a 0.0172 acre portion of lot 12, lots 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, the north 1/2 of lot 19, the east 67 and 1/2 feet of the south half of lot 19, and the east 67 and 1/2 feet of lot 20 and block A Crawford addition and an addition in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, according to the plat of record in volume 105, page 35, deed records of Bell County, Texas, for the new location of the Bell County Annex Building.
We have a motion by Councilmember Pilkington. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. I'm spinning over here.
Mine. I have, it says waiting. Oh. Is that it?
Item 12 passes 5 votes to 0. Item 13 is to consider adopting a resolution electing a mayor pro tem for the city of Temple. As the mayor, I would like to nominate Jessica Walker to serve as mayor pro tem. And are there any other nominations tonight?
No.
Okay, then council, I'll entertain a motion on item 13, which is to appoint Councilmember Walker as mayor pro tem for the city council.
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Pilkington. Council, please cast your vote. Item 13 passes 5 votes to 0. Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Walker. Thank you. Moving on to item 14 is to consider adopting a resolution appointing a member to the Temple Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors. And I also would like to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Walker for that position. Are there any other nominations?
I move to nominate Councilmember Walker. Our mayor pro tem.
Power hungry.
She said, I finally get a new nameplate. I finally get a new nameplate. We-
Our legal department says we can have a motion to reconsider
Yeah.
everything.
On grounds of a bad attitude. We have a motion by Councilmember Pilkington. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, please cast your vote. And item 14 passes 5 votes to 0. Thank you for the 2 that hung in here. It is currently 2 citizens and staff that has to be here. Thank y'all for attending tonight, and this meeting is adjourned.